everybody, and welcome to Tony Northeastern and 2022. Now you've all seen the previous video, the great grand opening of this station, and basically this video is about all the bits that I have made for this station, like the bunting, the champagne bottles, the tiny pair of scissors, and also the ribbon and the red carpet. But as you noticed, they're not in place yet because this was filmed way before the grand opening video. So let's make a start. So for the big opening we're going to need some bunting for the celebration. So we're going to need some thread, a rule and a pencil. And this is how we're going to do it. So as you can see, I have drawn some lines. These are 10mm apart. And basically what I'm going to try and do is make some triangles by 10 by 8. Now bunting can be any size. Obviously scale size, it's normally, I don't know, about 8 inches by probably 4, something like that, but these are going to be a little bit bigger just so we can see them. So 10mm that width. And what we're going to do here this way is go 8mm across, and hopefully we're going to end up with some triangles. But we shall see. So we shall do half a dozen lines at 8mm. And you can see then we'll have a pattern forming. Right, so what we'll do now is we'll turn the paper this way, and where we've got those lines there crossing each other, we shall just come down with a rule and go this way across. Now you can see already I have 1, 2, 3 triangles. So that's 3 pieces of bunting. Oh, 6 pieces of 6 triangles, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if we cross the lines again, make sure that they're parallel to this line, come back a bit because you want the pencil to run smack through the center of these lines. There we go, we end up with more triangles. We've got a pattern. So the next thing is to do is I'll carry on a little bit further. I don't know how many I need, probably about a meter's worth. Let's just say here's our string, and we'd probably get about 8 on that piece alone. So yeah, let's just see how we get on. So the next thing I want to do with this bunting is to turn them into Union Jacks. So what I'm doing to start with is putting in the St. George's cross. Now it's just a succession of lines really, so I'm just lining up the rule to the center of these triangles and then just drawing a red line. Now it don't look like much at the moment, but we shall see as we go on, because each one of these little tiny triangles will represent a Union Jack. Right, so we have our vertical lines. Now we need to do our horizontal lines. So as you can see here, I have come down from one of the black center lines by 3.5 mil, 3.5 mil. So what I'm doing now is place a rule on those two marks. But what I've got to do now is very carefully only mark one, miss one, mark one, miss one, mark one, miss one. So miss one, mark one, miss one, mark one, miss one, mark one, miss one, mark one, all the way along. And already, you've already got, if you look closely, you've already got St. George's Cross in the middle of them triangles. And then you've got to do the same. These ones, the other ones, the opposite hands. So 3.5 mil, 3.5 mil. And then this time you mark the ones that you haven't done. So it looks complicated at the moment, as you can see, but you can see two sets of flags there pointing towards each other. What I'm doing now is I am creating a cross within a cross to get the flag to look like a Union Jack. What I'm doing is I'm picking up from that corner, going straight through the middle and joining it to the line coming the opposite way. And as you can see there, we more or less have the centre of the Union Jack. But if we move along a bit, you can see I have a couple done already. One there and one there. So once I've done all this, I can then start cutting them out. So as you can see, I've got a long way to go. And here we are, my first Union Jack. Don't know how good you pick it up on the camera. It's just, there you go. So the next thing to do is once I've finished with the Union Jacks and the St. George's Cross, is to stick them to some thread. So what I've done here is I've measured the centres of 20 millimeters, roughly. As you can see on the rule, it's roughly about 20 centres. So that gives me space there to put in a St. George's Cross in the middle of each of the Union Jacks. So here we go, just about to put in my first St. George's Cross. And I'll just put a little bit of super glue across the top. So I'll just take some of that super glue off. And just hopefully get that in the middle. Here we go. So this seems to be an easy way of getting the flags to stay on, is to put the super glue onto the thread first. And it seems to work. And I just put my little Union Jack onto there like that. There we go, bunting. We have finished the bunting, now we're moving on to the champagne bottles. And if you've seen my video Milking It, where I made milk bottles, this is more or less going along the same lines, using toothpick ends. As you can see, these are the little balls, and what we've got here is 2 pieces of 1mm card. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but I have measured a 5mm square there, as you can see, right on this end, and that's where I'm going to stick all the bottles on. So I'm hoping to make 4 crates of champagne bottles. If I leave them this space in the middle, I can handle it for painting or whatever. So once the painting's finished, I can then cut through there and then wrap a little bit of paper around there with 4 flaps that looks like that it's in a box. But we shall see. Anyway, going back to the balls, what I'm doing here is just chopping off the tip of the toothpick, just roughly about 1mm, and then cutting it down to 5mm. So that's a foot tall, that's 12 inches tall. So that's a nice size Beringer bottle. And now I've started to stick the cut off toothpicks to the card, and it looks like I can get 6 bottles in each case. All I'm doing here is just a bit of super glue on the card, and to ensure that I'm getting good contact between the bottles and super glue, just dip it in the super glue first and put the first one on the corner, just to move that so it stands up straight. They will need a little bit of manipulation to get them to stand up straight, but as we go on. And then you should end up with something like this with the toothpick ends on the card. So we'll just let them dry, and we shall now concentrate on the box to put them in. And we've already got the bottom of the box, so we don't have to worry about that, it's just the sides. So what we're going to do, we're going to mark a line of 5mm, because that's how tall the bottles are. But by the time you wrap it around the base, we'll lose a mil in height anyway. So 5mm, 5mm. So what I'll do is just mark a line of 5mm. Then we mark another line at 2mm, or make it 2.5. And then we shall cut that bit off. So now we have our strip of paper with the line pre-marked, so that's going to be the fold line for the flaps of the cardboard box. I have now scribed the line, and now I'm just painting it a card colour. So the boxes are going to be like this yellow colour. And then when this paint dries, we can then fold it that line back on itself, because this is going to be the inside of the box. Hence why I'm painting it now, because obviously once the box is formed around the bottles, we won't be able to get inside there with a paintbrush. So we shall just leave this to dry for now. So I'm now painting the bottles a slime green, which I normally use for weathering, just to make the bottles greener, I guess. So I'm just basically mixing getting the brush in there, in between all the gaps and whatever, just to paint the bottles green. While waiting for the paint to dry, I thought I'd make a set of ceremonial scissors, just by using a little bit of copper wire. So I'm just bending the copper wire right the way around a 1mm drill bit, like so. And I've already done it to this end. So now we just cut that little bit off there, and then we flatten out the ring here that's been made by forming it round the drill bit, and just squash it a little bit. Right, so that's one part of the scissors. So the next bit is here, where I'm going to have to pull that back a bit, because I want that to be a little bit bigger than the other one. And cut that off. And then squash that so it's nice and flat. And then squash it that way if we can. Oh yeah, that's good. That's good, yeah, I like that. So now we have both ends of the scissors. So now we're just going to cut that in the middle. So we have two pieces. So the next thing to do, if I hold that like that in front of the camera, you can see it's almost the shape of a pair of scissors. See that? So the next thing to do is to put a tiny bit of solder there, and then cut the long legs to size. Before we do that, we just squash them together a little bit. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with that. So the scissors may be a little bit on the big side, but they are a ceremonial pair. So what I'm doing is put a little bit of flux there, got a little bit, tiny bit of solder here, so I'm just going to solder them together. There we go. So what we'll do now is paint them silver. Flip it over the other side. Then we've got our scissors. As you can see, now that they're painted, they do look like a pair of scissors. They need trimming down yet, they're still way too long. So once the paint has dried, I will trim them down. Meanwhile, back on the champagne, I'm just marking out for the boxes. So I'm coming in from the edge 5.5. Basically I'm marking the four corners of the box. So we want 4 pieces of 4.5, and then the last piece we shall do at 2.5 mil. Right, so that last piece, that last line, we cut that bit out because that's going to form the flap that wraps around the last corner. So we just notch that little bit out. We've got the line there, so we use that as a guide. Right, so now we put a slit in the paper opposite each one of those little lines. One there, one there, and one there. And then we fold the corners over. Bear in mind, this is the inside of the box, and the flaps where we've just folded over will be the outside of the box. And what we do is just bend them at 90 degrees to form the box. Like so. And then the little flap at the end, we bend that around. Okay, so now we have what we should have is something like that. So that now should just go around these 6 bottles of wine. If I can find my pencil mark. Paint's hitting it. 5 mil, which is just there. So this is the awkward bit. So now we super glue bottles into the box. Keeping the flaps to the top. It's not sticking. Right, there we go, it's stuck. Make sure it's flush with the bottom. Right, and then we just wrap it around the bottom edge. push that last flap around. Hopefully that should stay. Right, there we go. 6 balls in a box. All I've got to do now is just paint the ball tops. And here we have the celebration occasion details. the bunting and these boxes of champagne. And if you look closely, you can see the finishing touches that I had added, which was the silver paint and the gold caps on the top. Just see the gold glimmering there. And of course, a very delicate pair of scissors. See if I can pick them up and show you them. I'll just put them in the palm of my hand. There you go. The scissors that went missing, but we all know who took them. And hopefully we'll catch them in the next video. Right, so I think that's all from me this week. And thank you for watching. And we'll see you again next week. Bye for now. Bye.